Greetings, Chairman and distinguished delegates. Thank you for this opportunity to report on our ongoing project examining the interactions between lunar exploration and climate change. I am Cristina Starr. I'm speaking today by the invitation of the Moon Village Association. Now, this presentation will introduce you to our ongoing project, examine our efforts thus far, highlighting preliminary insights and recommendations, and outlining our next steps. In 2023, the Human Space Program and Moon Village Association initiated an MOU to work on a variety of space and environmental projects, all with strong lunar emphasis. The Moon Village Association has recently formed a global expert group on lunar sustainable activities, and the Human Space Program recently initiated a project called Making Space for the Environment. Its goal is to stimulate conversation between earthbound environmentalists and spacebound environmentalists and align their efforts. From this, the Moon for Earth initiative was created with the mission to cultivate meaningful conversations for all stakeholders toward creating a roadmap to truly sustainable lunar exploration. And my company, Cosmic Citizen Trainings, has been sponsoring many of these efforts. So with Artemis and the International Lunar Research Station being a significant focus for the largest coalition of space agencies and commercial partners, the Moon is a key area of attention in space exploration. With climate change being the most urgent environmental issue of our time, there is a strong environmentalist critique that continually comes up about using resources and polluting industries to leave the Earth at this time of accelerating climate crisis. To advance this initiative, we organized a panel event on Earth Day with diverse experts from industry, policy, earth and lunar science, environmentalists, and First Nations. The event also had 140 registrations of academics, space industry professionals, and environmentalists that represented 30 nations who came and participated in guided and structured discussions and dialogues with these experts. Now, the topics that we honed in on were about defining what is the environment in this new space age and what the science is of the Earth-Moon system, as well as can lunar exploration help mitigate the climate crisis in any way? Our preliminary insights are now going to be summarized here. So specifically with supporting climate action, we honed in on cleaner energy technologies such as fusion and utilizing helium-3 from lunar mining, and space-based solar can help shift us from carbon dependency. Now, the fusion is a technology that right now doesn't exist, so needs to be further developed. We also looked at the psychological and cultural impacts and potentials, so identifying lunar and dark space overview effect, which if properly communicated has the potential to galvanize more environmental action. Additionally, the communication, coordination, and cooperation pathways created by the peaceful use of outer space and the Moon can potentially create those channels and pathways to work effectively together on global issues such as the climate crisis. Now, we also identified key considerations that we'll need to take into account moving forward. And primarily at the very top of this list is that the Moon is an integral part of the Earth's biosphere. That scientifically speaking, the Moon is a part of the Earth, and we need to start thinking about it and defining it as an Earth-Moon system when we consider our policy. Also, all human activity on the Moon creates permanent changes since there's no erosion, and that creates a different set of circumstances that we need to consider with our engineering. Now, there's significant value in lunar-based science, the Earth-Moon solar system history, lunar-based astronomy that's going to teach us about the history of the universe and our place in it. Additionally, the value of the lunar water that has been pristine and untouched. This has a value beyond just being used as a resource, But once it is used as a resource, that value is permanently lost. And of course, with any exploration and with space exploration, there is untold value based on all the unknowns that we'll uncover. And what the concern was that was echoed repeatedly was that if we proceed without factoring these in as a priority, all these values could potentially be lost. Additionally, there was a lot of concern about making sure that we have end-of-life planning for everything that we send to the moon and just beyond the atmosphere in general, so that we're not continuing to add to orbital debris and then just trashing the moon. So rocket launches and reentries load the upper atmosphere with alumina, and we do not understand the effects that this is going to have long-term yet. But we do know that these rocket launches also contribute to ozone depletion, and we have a sense of what those effects are. As we attribute many of the future launches to building a lunar infrastructure, we need to consider those ongoing effects with increased number of launches. Now, because this was a very diverse group, we talked a lot about cultural inclusion and the voices that are excluded from making governance decisions, the people who do not have a voice at the table. So the question that we're going to be sitting with continually is, how do we expand and include more stakeholders in the process of creating lunar governance? And how do we seek out and learn from ecological and sustainability experts from across the world, including indigenous knowledge lineages that include the moon? And finally, how will resources such as wealth created from the moon be shared to benefit all humankind? Now, as you know, we need to determine lunar governance structures and enforcement mechanisms. No easy task, but we hope that these will be science and history informed, that the environmental policy for the moon and orbital space are formed by using science-informed definitions of space and the environment. And again, that includes considering that we have an Earth-Moon system. Identify and preserve key sites of value to science and shared heritage so that those are not permanently lost. Clearly, organizational leadership is needed at this time, and those can help to define operational norms of behavior, as well as potentially create an environmental impact study to understand these interactions with the Earth-Moon system. Our preliminary recommendations, taking all this into account, are that space activities, especially with regard to the moon, should be proceeding while actively considering climate change. And this is two parts. Strategic plans by space agencies and space actors should consider the impacts of climate change projections on their own operations. Additionally, prioritizing Earth-based solutions during the engineering and development phase of their technologies, and also Earth impact during the life cycle analysis of that. Each step of the mission planning would be prudent to make sure that what they're doing is actively considering Earth and climate change. Now, as the climate crisis continues and we hone in on this public concern and critique that exists, we need to be sensitive to tuning the lunar exploration narrative to address those concerns. Looking ahead, Moon Village Association and the Human Space Program are formally inviting collaboration. The Moon for Earth initiative has a mission to perform rigorous research with the aim of generating substantive policy recommendations that incorporate climate change, areas of concern for lunar protection, and the most up-to-date scientific understanding of the Earth-Moon system. And we're seeking to create a future that is of benefit, and the promise of prosperity cannot be used to justify a reckless race into space. I'm hoping that the next time we present before you, we have significant and substantive policy recommendations so that lunar exploration can support ongoing environmental efforts and sustainability. Thank you.